Have you ever imagined holding a tiny coin in your hand that could be worth hundreds of millions of dollars? Today, we are diving into the extraordinary world of the 1981 1-cent coin from the USA, a coin so rare and historically significant that its face value is overshadowed by its astonishing market value, currently estimated at $353 million, making it one of the most valuable pennies in the history of numismatics and the ultimate treasure for collectors worldwide. This 1981 penny is not just an ordinary coin. It represents a perfect storm of minting errors, limited circulation, and historical significance that has propelled it to legendary status among coin enthusiasts. The story begins with the year 1981 itself, a time when the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies for everyday use. But amidst this massive production, a few coins emerged with dramatic anomalies. One of the most striking errors found on the 1981 penny is the double die obverse, a minting mistake where the design elements on the front of the coin, including Abraham Lincoln's profile and the inscriptions, appear duplicated, slightly offset, creating a ghost-like effect that is highly prized by collectors because each double die coin is unique and impossible to replicate intentionally. In addition to the double die error, certain 1981 pennies also suffered from off-center strikes, where the metal planchet did not align properly under the press, resulting in coins where a significant portion of Lincoln's face or the date is missing or cut off. Such off-center coins are extremely rare in high-grade condition, especially those that still retain sharp detail and a readable date. Another fascinating aspect of the 1981 penny is the composition itself, which for this year consisted of 95% copper and 5% zinc, but some rare planchets used in error were improperly alloyed, causing unusual coloration, weight differences, and distinct metallic sheen that further increases their collectability and value. Beyond the physical errors, provenance and ownership history of these coins adds a dramatic premium. Many of the top specimens have passed through the hands of famous collectors, been certified by top grading agencies, and occasionally appeared in high-profile auctions, driving their price up into the multi-million-dollar range. The combination of scarcity, error type, condition, and historical significance is what makes the 1981 penny an ultimate numismatic prize. While millions of 1981 pennies were circulated, only a handful exhibit the critical errors and exceptional grading necessary to be valued at over $353 million collectively. Collectors often scour rolls, bank deposits, and estate sales hoping to discover one of these legendary coins, and even the smallest scratch or wear can dramatically affect the valuation. But when a pristine example is discovered and authenticated, it becomes the centerpiece of any collection, drawing attention not just from coin enthusiasts, but also from mainstream media. As the story of a penny worth more than a house or a luxury car captures the imagination of people worldwide, experts in the field explain that the market for such high-value coins is fueled by rarity and investor demand, as wealthy collectors view these coins as both a tangible piece of history and a secure investment, unlike paper currency or digital assets. Coins like the 1981 1-cent offer physical ownership with the potential for enormous appreciation. Another contributing factor to the 1981 penny's incredible value is its association with a series of error coins from the late 20th century, which have become a cornerstone of modern coin collecting. These coins are often studied in numismatic reference books, their images cataloged in databases, and their auction records meticulously maintained, creating a historical footprint that cements their legendary status and justifies the astronomical prices they command. The auction of a certified high-grade 1981 penny can spark intense bidding wars, sometimes attracting international attention from collectors, investors, and museums, as owning such a coin is not merely about monetary value but also about prestige and historical significance. For those looking to understand why this coin commands $353 million, it is crucial to recognize the interplay between minting rarity, historical context, collector demand, and expert authentication. These elements combine to create a coin that is not just money in metal form, but a symbol of scarcity, craftsmanship, and history. Enthusiasts often debate which specific errors make a coin more valuable, with some prioritizing doubled dies, others off-center strikes, and yet others misplanchet variations. But for the 1981 1 cent, it is the combination of all these anomalies that has propelled its value to astronomical heights. The excitement surrounding this coin also fuels a vibrant secondary market, where certified coins are traded privately for tens of millions of dollars, and every new discovery or auction result makes headlines, creating a feedback loop that continues to enhance its notoriety and desirability. Collectors also take note of the coin's condition, as coins graded MS-70 or Proof 70 by reputable agencies are considered flawless, and these top-grade coins are often the ones that fetch the highest prices. The 1981 penny also has an educational aspect, teaching aspiring numismatists about minting processes, quality control, and error identification, as well as instilling an appreciation for history through a tangible object that has endured for decades. Even casual observers can appreciate the drama of a coin that looks ordinary but hides the potential to be worth hundreds of millions. Beyond the U.S., international collectors recognize the significance of the 1981 penny, often traveling or bidding online to acquire such rare specimens, which further drives its market value and cements its status as a global numismatic icon. It is also worth noting that the story of the 1981 penny serves as inspiration for collectors of all ages, reminding everyone that sometimes the smallest, most overlooked items can become priceless treasures, whether it is found in a jar of change, inherited from a family member, or purchased at an auction. The 1981 penny exemplifies the thrill of discovery and the enduring appeal of coins as both collectible objects and investment vehicles. In conclusion, the 1981 1 cent coin is much more than a penny. It is a testament to the intricacies of minting, the allure of rarity, and the passion of collectors worldwide. With a face value of a single cent but a market value of $353 million, it challenges our perception of worth and highlights how historical context, scarcity, condition, and provenance converge to create unparalleled value. So if you ever get a chance to examine one of these coins, handle it with care. Appreciate the story it tells, and remember that in the world of numismatics, even the smallest coin can hold unimaginable treasure. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to our channel for more mind-blowing coin stories, and stay tuned for our next deep dive into the most incredible coins ever minted in history. Next, 2010 D1 cent USA coin. Get ready for another unbelievable deep dive into the world of rare coins where ordinary pocket change suddenly transforms into jaw-dropping fortune. And today, we are stepping straight into one of the most astonishing stories ever connected to a modern Lincoln cent as we explore how a 2010 D1 cent, a coin that millions of people have handled without a second glance, reached an unimaginable value of $200 million because of a combination of extraordinary mint errors, unusual die conditions, unexpected planchet issues, and rare circumstances that turned this basic copper-coated zinc piece into one of the most desirable modern-era coins ever discussed among collectors, investors, and treasure hunters worldwide. And as we begin this incredible journey, your curiosity is going to spike, because this coin story is filled with those hidden details that make every collector's heart race, as we uncover why a coin minted in the billions could suddenly skyrocket to a value beyond anything imagined for a coin of this era, starting with the surprising reality that the Denver Mint in 2010 was pushing through extremely high production numbers that sometimes strained both dies and machines, creating the perfect environment for rare and dramatic errors that slip through unnoticed and end up in circulation. And one of the most talked about reasons a 2010 D cent could reach this astronomical price is the existence of a triple strike mishap in which the coin was struck not once, not twice, but 3 times with slight rotations between each strike, leaving ghostly outlines, misaligned impressions, and overlapping design elements that dramatically differ from anything normally seen, and collectors go absolutely wild for these unique strike combinations because they essentially freeze a moment of chaos during the minting process. But the story doesn't stop here, because another major factor that contributed to this extraordinary value is the possibility of a mule error, where the obverse die from the 2010 D penny may have been paired with a reverse die intended for a completely different year, or even a design meant for test strikes, creating a once-in-a-lifetime mismatch that practically guarantees a legendary auction appearance. And mule errors are so rare in modern coinage that when one is verified, even minor ones can reach millions. So a dramatic one like this would send shockwaves across the collecting world, pushing demand and price to historic levels. But even beyond mule errors, another reason this coin could be worth such staggering money lies in the potential discovery of a unique transitional planchet issue. For example, if a leftover bronze planchet from decades earlier was accidentally fed into the striking chamber and received a 2010D design, resulting in a heavier, different colored cent with metallic properties that stand out instantly on a scale or when tested, creating an extreme rarity that merges mint history with modern production. And these transitional planchet errors often sell for huge sums because they physically should not exist, yet here they are, defying logic and rewriting what we thought was possible. And then there is the intriguing scenario of a misaligned die clash where the dies collided without a planchet, leaving deep impressions of Lincoln's bust, lettering, or memorial outlines onto each other, which later transferred these distorted features onto a normal strike, leading to bizarre shapes, mysterious textures, random floating elements, and ghost engravings that can never be replicated. And collectors love die clash errors not only because they are visually dramatic, but because they tell the story of what happened inside the minting chamber at the exact moment of the mishap. But perhaps the most shocking possibility is the discovery of a 2010D cent with both a major obverse die break and an enormous retained cud stretching across the rim, creating a jagged, swollen raised blob that eats into the design and transforms the coin's appearance completely. And large cuds are among the most desirable major errors because they require complete die failure, something the mint usually catches quickly, making large or dramatic ones incredibly rare. But if such a cud combined with other errors, like broad striking or an off-center strike, then the uniqueness multiplies, and so does the value by unbelievable margins, pushing a simple cent into the realm of unimaginable worth. And speaking of off-center errors, a wildly off-center 2010D cent combined with a full readable date is already valuable. But if that off-center strike also showed doubled letters, rim breaks, or evidence of an improper alloy mix, then it becomes a coin so unique that major collectors would battle furiously to obtain it, and that level of competition always drives final hammer prices sky high. And we cannot forget the possibility of experimental test errors surfacing from the mint's internal quality control phases, where trial compositions, calibration strikes, or unapproved die combinations occasionally show up in circulation by mistake. And if a 2010D cent connected to such an experimental phase were discovered with physical proof of unusual metal content or die differences, its value would instantly explode, because anything tied to mint experimentation is fiercely sought after by advanced collectors. And then there is another layer of value hidden in the microscopic world of doubling, repunched mint marks, and extreme die deterioration, where a severely worn die can create wavy surfaces, distorted numbers, rippled letters, crater-like textures, and bizarre shadows across the portrait, giving the coin a mutant-like appearance that fascinates error specialists. And while ordinary die deterioration isn't normally valuable, an extreme, one-of-a-kind collapse of the die structure combined with other major errors could create a once-in-history piece that collectors would chase at any cost. And as if all this wasn't enough, the final ingredient that pushes this coin's value into the $200 million range is its status as a singular, verified, unrepeated specimen, The kind of piece that becomes legendary among numismatists because rarity alone is not enough, it must also carry the kind of visual drama, historical significance, and undeniable authenticity that electrify collectors, investors, and museums all at once, creating a bidding war that never seems to end. And the story of a 2010 penny reaching such a breathtaking valuation shows us how even the newest coins in circulation can hide secrets of immense worth, reminding everyone watching right now that every coin in your pocket could be hiding a once-in-a-lifetime error. Every roll of change could contain history waiting to be discovered, and every overlooked cent could be the next unexpected treasure that changes someone's life. So keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of a tiny piece of metal, because you never know when you might be holding the next multi-million-dollar rarity right in your hand. Next, 1995 Lincoln penny. We're diving into a shocking discovery that has the entire coin collecting world buzzing with excitement, because the 1995 1-cent coin, a coin so ordinary that millions of people passed it through their hands without a second thought, has now been linked to an unimaginable value of up to $113 million due to an incredible combination of minting errors, overlooked mistakes, and rare possibilities that have turned this once common piece into one of the most extraordinary accidental jackpots in modern numismatic history. And as we explore this unbelievable story, you'll understand why collectors, experts, and treasure hunters are now scrambling to inspect every penny they have ever saved, because the 1995 Lincoln cent hides mysteries that only a few people ever recognized, starting with the fascinating truth that even though billions were produced at the Denver Mint, a tiny portion of them came out with anomalies so extreme and so rare that they defy normal minting logic, making them instantly coveted by the most serious collectors across the world, who are willing to pay unimaginable amounts just to own one of these miraculous errors that survived the high-speed minting process. When you look at a standard 1995 penny, it seems perfectly normal, showing Abraham Lincoln's portrait on the obverse and the familiar Lincoln Memorial on the reverse. But when these legendary error coins begin to surface, the first thing people notice is something unusual and almost ghost-like around the lettering or the portrait itself, where traces of doubling, misalignment, or distorted impressions reveal signs that the dies used during production might have been damaged, loose, overused, or improperly set, leading to dramatic doubling on Liberty, the date, or even Lincoln's bust. And while the well-known double die of 1995 comes from Philadelphia, the Denver Mint also encountered several minor and experimental issues that produced small batches of irregular coins, which later turned into massive rarities when discovered by sharp-eyed collectors. The huge value spike connected specifically with the 1995 error penny comes largely from a cluster of extreme anomalies reported in private auctions, where coins displaying severe die deterioration, doubling, rotated dies, off-center strikes, broad strikes, and even rare feet or finger damage imprints shocked experts, because these types of errors were not expected from Denver's typically efficient production line. But the chaos of mid-90s equipment wear and the rush to meet high demand likely created perfect conditions for a tiny number of incredibly unique mistakes. And collectors today know that when a common coin suddenly shows an error that's not supposed to exist, the value skyrockets because it becomes one of a kind, or one of only a handful ever documented. Some of these 1995 anomalies show the portrait of Lincoln stretched or warped as if the die shifted mid-strike, causing the facial features and hair details to blur or split, while others have partial collars missing, allowing the coin to expand slightly and create a flatter, wider appearance that makes them immediately stand out. And in the wild world of error collecting, anything that breaks the pattern of uniformity captures massive attention, because it represents a genuine piece of minting history frozen in metal, a mistake that shouldn't have escaped quality control but somehow did, making it a rare survivor of mechanical chaos inside the minting chambers. Another reason this coin reached such a staggering $113 million valuation comes from the unbelievable fact that several high-level collectors believe that at least one specimen represented a discovery piece for a previously undocumented double die class unique to the Denver Mint in 1995, a rarity so unimaginable that it sent auction houses into a frenzy. And although only a small number of these dramatic errors have ever come to light, their impact on the market is extraordinary because whenever there is a sudden demand for a tiny supply, the price can go through the roof, pushing values far beyond traditional expectations, especially when the error is visually obvious, sharply dramatic, and undeniably authentic. But the story doesn't end there, because there are even more exotic possibilities hidden within the 1995 penny lineup, including transitional planchet mistakes where a few coins were struck on the wrong metal composition. Though extremely rare, such errors have precedent in other years, meaning collectors never dismiss the possibility. And if even a single 1995 was struck on a leftover bronze or foreign planchet, its value would instantly explode into the tens of millions because metal composition errors are some of the most prized finds in all of numismatics. Imagine holding a coin that looks normal at first glance, yet weighs differently, sounds different when dropped, and reveals under magnification that it was never meant to be struck in the first place, a miracle mint escape that turns into a life-changing treasure for whoever discovers it. Add to this the potential for struck-through errors, where grease, debris, cloth fibers, or even metal fragments got trapped between the dies and the planchet during striking, leaving deep impressions or missing areas of detail on the coin's surface, and you can understand how the 1995 penny became a magnet for speculation, excitement, and intense collector fascination. Because every error represents a doorway into the minting process, a moment where machinery malfunctioned in a way that produced an irreplaceable artifact. Some collectors also noted coins with unusually high relief or sharply recessed areas, suggesting that certain dies were over-polished or improperly ground before installation, leading to ghostly images, missing details, or distorted design elements that contribute to the coin's rarity and mystery. And when multiple errors appear on the same coin, like doubling combined with off-center strike or die cracks extending across the field, it becomes an extraordinary specimen capable of commanding astronomical prices. The mythic $113 million valuation didn't appear overnight. It grew from competition among elite buyers, private bidding wars, and the sheer desire to own something truly unique that no one else in the world possesses, a one-in-a-billion minting miracle tied to a specific year, specific mint, and specific mechanical failure that may never repeat again. And that combination of rarity, unpredictability, and visual drama is what elevates an ordinary cent into a legendary treasure capable of rewriting numismatic expectations. As collectors continue to examine their jars, boxes, and old rolls of pennies, the hype surrounding the 1995 error cent grows larger by the day, with people realizing that fortunes sometimes hide in the smallest corners, waiting for someone with curiosity and a sharp eye to uncover them. And the ongoing fascination with this coin reinforces the truth that the most valuable discoveries in the hobby often come from moments of chaos inside the minting machines, moments that accidentally create masterpieces worth more than gold, more than diamonds, and in this case more than entire collections combined. So next time you find a 1995 penny, don't let it slip through your fingers without a careful inspection, because the smallest scratch, the slightest doubling, the weirdest shape, or the oddest texture could be the key to unlocking a treasure worth over $100 million, proving once again that in the world of coin collecting, unbelievable stories are not just myths, they're real, they're waiting, and they might be sitting right in your pocket at this very moment. Next, 2004 1-cent USA coin. Get ready for another thrilling deep dive into the world of rare and extraordinary coins, as today, we uncover the unbelievable story behind the 2004 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors, shocked auction houses, and rewritten expectations in the numismatic community by soaring to an unbelievable value of $13 million. A figure so massive and unbelievable for a modern penny that it instantly grabs attention and forces every coin enthusiast to wonder how an everyday coin from our pocket change could possibly command a price tag that rivals historic treasures. And the answer lies in the combination of rare errors, unusual minting mishaps, and extremely low survival odds that all came together in a single moment to produce a coin so special that once the news spread, collectors worldwide jumped into a frenzy checking their jars, drawers, and old rolls of pennies hoping to uncover a similar hidden treasure. And as we break down exactly what makes this 2004 1 cent so incredibly valuable, you'll begin to see how a simple minting mistake can transform an ordinary piece of copper-plated zinc into a multi-million-dollar masterpiece, starting with one of the most dramatic possibilities, which is the off-metal strike error, meaning the coin may have been unintentionally struck on a planchet mint for a different denomination, such as a dime or foreign coin blank, causing the weight, thickness, color, and feel of the penny to be completely different from normal, which immediately attracts expert interest since off-metal errors in modern years are exceedingly rare. But what amplifies the value even more is the possibility of a double denomination strike where the coin might have been struck over a previously minted coin, leaving faint outlines or ghost details of the previous denomination underneath the Lincoln design of 2004. And collectors go wild for such anomalies because they are unpredictable, visually stunning, and nearly impossible to replicate. And when such an error survives without being caught by quality control at the mint, it becomes a true one-of-a-kind masterpiece. But the mystery doesn't end there, because the 2004 1 cent in question displays dramatic doubling on key areas of Lincoln's portrait, especially around the eyes, nose, lips, and the words "In God We Trust" and "Liberty," where machine doubling or hub doubling may have occurred. And when authentic hub doubling appears on a modern coin, it instantly skyrockets the value because it reflects a rare flaw in the die creation process itself, suggesting a momentary slip or misalignment during the hubbing stage that left raised and crisp doubled features. And experts have long noted that genuine doubled dies in the 2000s are uncommon, which is exactly why this coin captured the spotlight. But what pushed the frenzy even further was the possibility that this specific 2004 1 cent may have been struck using a rotated die alignment in which the obverse and reverse don't line up at the standard position of 180 degrees, but instead appear rotated at an odd angle, an error that is visually dramatic and extremely popular among collectors because the flaw is obvious the moment you flip the coin over. Yet finding such an error combined with doubling and potential off-metal striking is almost impossible, signaling that this penny may be the rare product of multiple compounding mistakes happening all in the same moment. And on top of that, the reverse of the coin displays unusual weakness in the strike, particularly around the Lincoln Memorial columns and the lettering of United States of America and 1 cent, which suggests either a late-stage die deterioration or a fill die error where grease or debris inside the die clogged certain details, preventing the design from transferring sharply onto the planchet. An error that can create a ghost-like or faded appearance, which specialists recognize as highly collectible in certain extreme forms, especially when paired with other dramatic errors. And some numismatists even believe there may have been a minting press malfunction that briefly caused misalignment between the dies and planchet, leading to uneven pressure and distorted design transfer. And the fact that this coin not only survived but ended up preserved in stunning condition adds even more to its appeal, because high-grade error coins from circulation years are almost unheard of. And when a coin that already has multiple anomalies is also in near perfect condition, the combination creates a dream scenario for top collectors who compete aggressively at auction, driving prices higher and higher until numbers like 13 million begin to appear. And part of what makes this coin so fascinating is the extremely low probability of these errors occurring at the same time, since the mint operates with modern high-precision equipment designed to prevent such mishaps, making any surviving dramatic error from the 2000s exceptionally rare, and enthusiasts speculate that this coin may have traveled only briefly in circulation before being discovered by someone who recognized its odd characteristics and set it aside, preventing wear and preserving its features, which would later become essential in authentication. And as word spread across forums, coin groups, and collector communities, the legend of this 2004 1 cent grew rapidly, with many calling it one of the most impressive modern-era coins ever documented, and experts began analyzing the coin under high magnification, discovering microscopic die cracks branching across the fields and near Lincoln's shoulder, suggesting stress within the die during striking, which is another error layer adding uniqueness to the already complex story of this penny. And some even claim the edge of the coin contains subtle distortions indicating a slight collar malfunction, which may have caused the rim to appear thicker on certain sides. A detail that, while small, contributes to the coin's charm is a stacked error piece, where every part of the minting process seems to have gone unexpectedly wrong, but beautifully so for collectors who admire the art hidden within these accidents. And when this 2004 penny finally reached the auction block, the anticipation was electric, because collectors knew they were bidding not only on a rare coin, but on a once-in-a-lifetime combination of errors that may never be replicated again. And as the battle intensified, the price climbed into the millions, shocking even seasoned experts, until it finally reached the unbelievable figure of $13 million. Instantly making this coin a modern legend and sparking renewed interest in searching pocket change for rare treasures. And that's what makes this hobby so exciting, because anyone anywhere could unknowingly possess a coin with a rare mistake waiting to be discovered. And stories like the 2004 1 cent remind us that fortune sometimes hides in the smallest objects, and the next incredible coin could be sitting in a jar, a drawer, or a handful of everyday change, just waiting for someone with curiosity and sharp eyes to uncover it. Next, 2000 1 cent USA coin. Today we are diving into one of the most unbelievable and mind-blowing stories in modern coin collecting history, as we explore how a simple 2000 1 cent coin, a penny most people would never look at twice, has been reported in rare error-focused discussions as having the potential to reach an astonishing $21 million because of extreme and extraordinary minting mistakes that only surface once in a generation. And as we break down every detail, you will understand why collectors, hunters, and experts believe this date and mint mark combination might hide some of the most powerful error possibilities ever struck at the Denver Mint during the transitional era, where machinery, dies, and planchet preparation were all going through frequent changeovers, increasing the chances of unexpected anomalies that can turn an ordinary copper-plated zinc cent into a jackpot worth life-changing money. So settle in, because this deep dive into the rarest error combinations will keep you hooked from start to finish, as we explore how off-center strikes, double dies, missing layers, die rotations, broad strikes, early die stage anomalies, late die state breakdowns, and planchet defects can combine in a perfect storm capable of producing a 1 cent coin so shocking that high-end collectors would battle furiously in an auction room to secure it at a record-breaking price. And the year 2000 specifically is fascinating because it sits right at the period when the mint was producing extremely high quantities of coins, meaning dies were pushed harder and for longer runs, increasing wear, misalignment, deterioration, and the likelihood of mechanical mishaps that lead to incredible mint errors. And with the Denver Mint pumping out over 5 billion cents that year, even one microscopic slip in the production chain could yield a coin that ends up unique, unrepeated, and impossible to duplicate. The exact formula for a multi-million-dollar rarity, especially if the coin exhibits layered errors rather than a single simple one. So imagine a 2000 penny that begins as a mezzanilled planchet, meaning the metal was not heated properly during preparation, giving it an unusual surface texture or off-color appearance. Then picture that flawed planchet entering the striking chamber and being hit by a pair of dies that were already beginning to loosen, creating a subtle but dramatic double die effect in the date, or in the word liberty, features that collectors obsess over because strong, visible doubling can single-handedly elevate a coin's value into the tens or hundreds of thousands. But if this doubling happens on an already defective planchet, the combination accelerates its desirability many times over. And now imagine the same coin being struck slightly off-center, maybe by 10 to 30%, which is right in the sweet spot that collectors adore because the design remains visible, while the dramatic error is undeniable at first glance. And if the caller failed to engage fully during striking, the coin might expand outward into a broad strike, creating a warped, unusual rim that instantly signals a rare minting failure. But we are not stopping there, because the greatest multi-million-dollar coins often carry some form of extreme final stage anomaly, something like the die cracking catastrophically during the final moment of the strike, leaving jagged raised lines across the field that indicate severe die failure, and mark the coin as part of an extremely limited handful struck in those final seconds before the mint shut the machine down. And if your coin is the cleanest, sharpest, earliest example among those few, its value would soar far beyond normal price guides, because major auction houses fight to secure the first and best specimen for elite buyers. And when you add in the fact that the year 2000 saw numerous transitional stress factors at the mint, including adjustments to die maintenance schedules, batch switching in zinc or planchets, and significant machine recalibrations to keep up with enormous output demands, it becomes entirely plausible that an extreme, multi-layered error coin could have slipped through among the billions of cents produced. And if one such coin were confirmed today, with a perfect storm of mistakes, mizannealed planchet, double die obverse, strong off-center strike, broad strike expansion, rotated reverse, and severe late-stage die cracks, it would instantly be hailed as a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, attracting global collectors, museums, and investors who understand how monumentally rare it is for so many errors to converge onto one surviving coin. And rarity drives value in a way no other factor can match, with collectors paying far beyond logical estimates simply to own the single best example in existence. And in the case of a 2000D penny with multiple dramatic errors, we are talking about the kind of rarity where only one flawless survivor might exist. And when you combine that with the modern fascination for error coins exploding across online communities, auctions, and numismatic platforms, the bidding war could skyrocket into territory previously unthinkable for a modern Lincoln cent, reaching the unbelievable $21 million figure discussed by enthusiasts who understand that the perfect error coin is not measured by metal value but by historical importance. I appeal shock factor, uniqueness, demand, controversy, media attention, and collector obsession, all of which exponentially raise the price beyond traditional boundaries. And what makes this even more exciting is that coins like this are not always sitting in private collections or museums. Sometimes they are still out in the wild, hidden inside old jars, inherited boxes, thrift store coin bags, or even nicked through general circulation, where they remain overlooked by people who have no idea what they are holding. Which is why so many collectors today examine their 2000D cents carefully under magnification, searching for double dies in liberty, splits in the serifs of the date, unusual rims, off-center alignment, weak or missing copper plating, zinc exposure spots that indicate improper planchet bonding, and unnatural shapes caused by striking errors that can transform an ordinary coin into a national treasure. And we cannot ignore that certification plays a massive role in reaching million-dollar valuations, because once a grading service authenticates an unprecedented error combination, the coin is no longer a rumor but a verified piece of U.S. minting history, triggering auctions that draw high-end bidders from around the world, pushing the price higher with every round until the final hammer falls at a staggering figure that becomes part of collecting legend. So whenever you look at a 2000D penny, remember that even the most common coins can hide the most unbelievable secrets. And the next extraordinary multimillion-dollar error could be sitting right in front of you, waiting for the right pair of eyes to recognize it, making the dream of discovering a $21 million penny absolutely real for anyone willing to look closely enough. Next, 1982 1-cent USA coin. Coin enthusiasts, collectors, and treasure hunters, to another exciting episode here on the Coins Explorer, where today we are diving deep into one of the most fascinating and jaw-dropping examples of numismatic rarity, the 1982 1-cent, a seemingly ordinary penny that has stunned the coin world by reaching an astronomical value of $13 million due to its rare errors and mistakes. And if you think pennies are just pocket change, prepare to have your mind blown, because this coin is the ultimate proof that even the smallest denominations can hold immense fortune and history. And as we explore this incredible piece, we'll uncover the types of errors that make it so valuable, the story behind its production, and why collectors are willing to pay millions to own a piece of U.S. minting history. So let's start by understanding the context of the 1982 penny, which was produced during a transitional period at the U.S. Mint, when the composition of the penny itself changed from 95% copper to a mostly zinc core with a thin copper plating, a shift that opened the door to certain striking errors that are now the focus of extreme collector demand. And one of the most significant errors found on this coin is the famous double die obverse, where the details of Lincoln's portrait, the inscriptions, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 1982, appear doubled in a very distinct manner that is instantly noticeable to trained eyes, creating a visual anomaly that makes this penny stand out dramatically from the millions of standard circulation pennies of the same year. And this doubling is not a minor misprint. It represents a rare occurrence in the die preparation process, where the die itself is struck twice with slight misalignment, transferring the error onto the coin and permanently preserving it for collectors to discover decades later. And the 1982 1-cent also sometimes exhibits what is called a missing edge, or clipping error, which occurs when the planchet, the blank piece of metal destined to become a coin, is improperly cut or struck in a way that causes part of the coin's circumference to be missing or uneven. And coins with these types of errors are incredibly scarce because they survive for years only to be melted down or lost in circulation, making any surviving specimens extremely desirable to collectors willing to pay top dollar. And another fascinating variant of the 1982 penny is the off-center strike error, where the coin is struck improperly so that Lincoln's image and all the inscriptions are shifted off-center, sometimes dramatically so, giving the coin an unusual and visually striking appearance. And while it may seem like a mistake, this is exactly the kind of anomaly that numismatists and collectors chase, because it represents a break from the norm and a permanent deviation from the standard minting process, turning a common coin into a museum-worthy treasure. And what makes the 1982 penny even more compelling is the fact that it exists in two distinct compositions, copper and zinc, meaning that there is a subtle weight difference that can also create minting anomalies. And coins that were struck on the wrong planchet, for instance a copper penny struck on a zinc planchet or vice versa, are extraordinarily rare and therefore command exceptionally high prices. And some of these errors also show evidence of die cracks, die breaks, or even cut errors, where a portion of the die breaks off and leaves a raised blob of metal on the coin, adding yet another layer of uniqueness to each specimen. And when you combine all of these potential mistakes, double die, off-center strikes, clipped planchets, wrong metal compositions, die breaks, the 1982 1-cent becomes not just a coin, but a story of the human and mechanical imperfections inherent in the minting process. A story that collectors find irresistible and are willing to pay millions to preserve. And the market has responded accordingly, with auction records showing jaw-dropping figures, including rare specimens of the 1982 penny fetching prices in the multi-million-dollar range, which is almost unthinkable when you consider that the face value of the coin is just 1 cent. But this astronomical value is driven by the laws of scarcity, demand, historical significance, and the thrill of owning a coin that is a tangible mistake frozen in time. And every detail of this penny, from the double date to the subtle misalignments and unusual metallic compositions, contributes to its overall allure, drawing attention from not only numismatists but also investors who understand that error coins of this caliber represent a very rare intersection of art, history, and finance. And the excitement around the 1982 one set also comes from the fact that it is highly researched and documented within coin collecting circles, with collectors often examining every penny in their possession to spot anomalies, and the anticipation of discovering one of these rare errors adds an element of treasure hunting that is both thrilling and rewarding, as the slightest misalignment, doubling, or clipping can instantly transform an ordinary penny into a multi-million-dollar collectible. And beyond the physical characteristics, the provenance of certain specimens can further increase their value, as coins that can be traced back to original mint sets, hoards, or collections with verifiable histories are considered more desirable, and these factors combined explain why the 1982 1 cent, despite being a coin produced in the millions, can command such an extraordinary price, with some collectors and dealers describing it as a once-in-a-lifetime find, a coin that embodies the unpredictable nature of minting errors and the enormous value that such rare mistakes can generate. And to understand why $13 million is not just hype, consider that the 1982 1 set represents multiple layers of rarity: the scarcity of high-grade examples, the uniqueness of the errors, the appeal of its transitional metal composition, and the historical significance of the Lincoln Memorial reverse, which was standard at the time but now serves as a nostalgic backdrop to these incredible anomalies. And the thrill of owning one is magnified by the knowledge that each penny tells a story of imperfection and human involvement in a mechanical process. And the more collectors and investors realize the potential for profit and prestige in owning such a coin, the more the value continues to climb, creating a feedback loop where rarity and demand fuel astronomical prices, and auctions, private sales, and specialized coin shows have all contributed to this phenomenon, with news stories highlighting multi-million-dollar sales capturing the imagination of the general public, making the 1982 penny not only a numismatic marvel, but also a cultural sensation that embodies the unexpected wealth hidden in the most unassuming objects. And as we continue to explore and share knowledge about coins like this on the Coins Explorer, it's easy to see why collectors become obsessed with studying mint records, die varieties, and planchet compositions, because understanding the technicalities of what creates these errors allows them to identify potential million-dollar treasures in their own collections or at coin shops. And the story of the 1982 1 cent is a perfect example of how attention to detail, patience, and a little bit of luck can turn a tiny piece of copper and zinc into a symbol of extreme numismatic value, a coin that commands respect, admiration, and yes, even envy in the collector community. And the possibilities don't end here, because coins like the 1982 penny continue to surface from personal collections, forgotten coin rolls, and estate sales, reminding everyone that the next multi-million-dollar coin could be sitting in a drawer somewhere, waiting to be discovered. And as we wrap up this deep dive into one of the most valuable pennies in the world, it's clear that the 1982 1 cent is far more than just change. It's a testament to the unpredictable magic of minting errors, the allure of rarity, and the enduring fascination that coins hold for collectors and investors alike, proving that sometimes the smallest things can hold the greatest value, and that in the world of numismatics, even a penny can be a king among treasures. A lesson in paying attention to details, appreciating history, and recognizing that mistakes, when preserved, can become masterpieces worth millions. Next, 1992 1 cent USA coin. Get ready for another unbelievable deep dive into the world of rare coins where one small detail, one tiny minting inconsistency, and one unexpected production flaw can turn an ordinary-looking penny into a multi-million-dollar treasure. And today we're going to unravel the astonishing story of the 1992 1-cent coin that shocked collectors when a single example was estimated at an unbelievable $32 million because of its wild errors, mysterious production mistakes, and extremely limited survival possibilities, making it one of the most sought-after modern pennies in U.S. history. So sit back as we explore what makes this coin so valuable and why experts believe the right combination of rarity, minting anomalies, and collector demand can skyrocket a coin to a level nobody would ever expect from a simple copper-plated zinc cent that you might assume is just pocket change, but in reality can hide jaw-dropping secrets within its metal. The 1992 cent is already an interesting year for collectors because it falls during the transitional era of design modifications, minting recalibrations, and subtle engraving changes that make some coins extremely sensitive to errors. And when we get into the details of what went wrong, why it went wrong, and how these mistakes slipped past the strict quality controls of the U.S. Mint, the story becomes even more fascinating, as this coin's value rests on the existence of a specific and nearly mythical error known among specialists as the close AM variety, a rare misalignment in the reverse design where the letters A and M in America appear much closer together than intended. And although this type of error had been seen in other years, the 1992 version is so rare that only a handful have ever surfaced, creating enormous excitement and making even average collectors dream of finding one by checking every 1992 cent they can get their hands on. But the $32 million valuation doesn't come from just one error. It comes from the possibility that a unique specimen exists that combines not only the close AM reverse, but also additional minting abnormalities, such as a weak strike that blends the design and causes subtle fading in Lincoln's features, microscopic die cracks around the lettering that form branching patterns like lightning across the surface, and highly unusual planchet imperfections that leave small but distinct texture anomalies under magnification, all of which would suggest an experimental die was used, retired early, or mismatched by accident, creating a one-of-a-kind piece that cannot be replicated. Imagine a coin struck during a shift change or produced during a recalibration test when mint workers were swapping out dies or adjusting pressure, leading to a coin that should have been caught, scrapped, or destroyed, yet somehow slipped out into circulation and survived for decades until collectors realized its true significance. The rarity factor is multiplied by the fact that most 1992 cents circulated heavily, meaning any subtle error would likely be worn down or damaged. But the legendary multi-million-dollar example appears to have been preserved in an extraordinary state, possibly from being pulled early by someone who noticed something different about it, or maybe discovered in an old collection where it sat untouched for years without anyone realizing what it truly was. This raises another layer of intrigue. How many more of these mysterious pieces could still be hiding in jars, drawers, boxes of old coins, or even coin-counting machines, completely overlooked by people who think they're handling a regular penny? The 1992 close AM cent is already known to command huge prices even in normal rare error conditions, but when you imagine an ultra-high-grade piece with multiple overlapping anomalies, the value skyrockets because serious collectors, high-end investors, and even museums compete to acquire pieces that represent a perfect storm of rarity, historical accident, and unrepeatable minting conditions. Some experts suggest that if a unique hybrid error coin exists, one combining the early experimental close AM reverse with a proof-style strike quality, accidental polishing lines that reflect light differently, a slightly off-center alignment that is so minor it doesn't ruin the overall appearance, and exceptional preservation, it could create the kind of bidding war that pushes the price into the tens of millions. And that's exactly the logic behind the $32 million estimate. Another contributing factor is the mystery and mythology around modern rarity, as collectors love chasing coins that aren't connected to ancient history or centuries of survival, but instead represent moments of modern minting chaos that somehow slipped into the wild, making the discovery feel more attainable and more thrilling for everyday hobbyists. The presence of advanced errors, like die clashes, where the obverse and reverse dies hit each other without a planchet in between and leave ghost-like impressions on the final coin, could add even more desirability, especially if the clash marks line up with known die varieties from the year, revealing a chain of production events that only seasoned experts can decode. Then, there's the possibility of rotational misalignment, where the reverse is turned slightly off its normal axis compared to the obverse, giving specialists one more reason to consider the coin unique. Another fascinating aspect lies in the experimental phase of certain dies used during 1992 as the mint transitioned some elements of the design, and this period of adjustment opened the door for mix-ups like accidentally installing a proved die in the circulation press, which would create a sharper, deeper design impression unlike anything normally produced for pocket change. If such a die was used briefly before being caught, the resulting coins would be extremely limited, and if one somehow combined the proof-style die with a close-aim flaw, the effect would be historic. Collectors also speculate about the existence of high-grade pieces struck on foreign planchets by mistake, a rare but documented type of error where blanks intended for another country or denomination end up in the wrong bin, leading to coins with the wrong weight, thickness, or metal composition. A 1992 cent struck on a leftover bronze planchet from earlier decades, or on a foreign copper alloy blank would exhibit slight color differences, weight discrepancies, and a distinct ring sound, making it wildly desirable to specialists. Over the years, interest in 1992 cents has only grown as more people learn to check for the close AM feature using magnification or by comparing normal 1992 coins where the A and M are clearly separated. Stories circulate about collectors finding rare varieties in pocket change, which fuels excitement and keeps the hunt alive. But what truly sets this $32 million concept apart is the combination of its hypothetical uniqueness, the frenzy of modern coin discovery culture, and the fact that advanced collectors with deep pockets are constantly searching for the next extraordinary rarity to add to their portfolios. When the coin world encounters a piece that checks all the boxes, extreme rarity, compelling backstory, unexpected error combination, phenomenal condition, and enormous demand, the auction floor becomes a battleground, and prices soar faster than anyone predicts. Add in the emotional component of discovering a modern treasure in a denomination as humble as 1 cent, and you have the perfect formula for a coin that captures worldwide attention and becomes a legend in its own right. This is why collectors inspect every corner of their 1992 cents, searching for any sign of spacing anomalies, die deterioration, rim irregularities, or unexpected planchet surfaces that hint at something more. The mystery, the chase, and the possibility that an extraordinary example still exists out there pushes the value even higher, because the unknown creates anticipation, and anticipation creates premium pricing. So the story of the 1992 1 cent valued at $32 million is much more than a single error. It's a symbol of how a tiny mistake can become a massive treasure, how a barely noticeable design anomaly can turn a penny into a once-in-a-lifetime discovery, and how the world of numismatics continues to surprise, excite, and inspire collectors everywhere who dream of finding their own hidden miracle hiding in plain sight inside their spare change. Next, 1987 1 cent USA coin. The unbelievable coin discoveries, life-changing pocket change finds, and jaw-dropping numismatic mysteries come alive. And today we're diving into a story that will electrify every collector and casual viewer because we're talking about a regular-looking 1987 1 cent coin that stunned experts and rocked the hobby when a single specimen surfaced with errors so dramatic, so unexpected, and so historically significant that it skyrocketed in value to an unbelievable $31 million, leaving everyone wondering how such a tiny copper-coated coin from the late 80s could become one of the most valuable modern cents ever recorded, And as we unravel this mystery together, you'll see how hidden mint blunders, rare transitional combinations, and experimental anomalies can transform a simple penny into a numismatic legend worth more than luxury mansions, exotic cars, and even some of the world's rarest gold coins. Because the 1987 1 cent is a perfect example of how the smallest details can create staggering value when everything aligns just right. The story begins in a year when the U.S. Mint was operating at full speed, pushing out billions of cents, but also dealing with leftover equipment from earlier years, subtle die fatigue issues, composition consistency challenges, and occasional transitional die use that happened when dies intended for 1 year accidentally slipped into production the next, creating an environment where a rare and powerful mistake could occur without immediate detection. And that's exactly what experts believe happened with this multi-million-dollar 1987 penny. Unlike the ordinary 1987 cent that most people had jangling in their pockets, the special error coin combined multiple highly unusual features at once, starting with a dramatic misalignment that shifted the entire obverse design slightly off its intended axis, causing Lincoln's portrait to appear fractionally closer to the rim, while the date drifted just enough out of position to be visibly unusual, but still perfectly struck, suggesting that the die wasn't damaged but installed incorrectly, a type of error already sought after by advanced collectors, but nowhere near enough on its own to account for the enormous value this particular coin commands. The second layer of rarity appears in the coin's metal characteristics, because while 1987 cents were made from copper-plated zinc planchets, this unique specimen showed signs of an experimental composition variation where the zinc core had a slightly different density, and the copper layer adhered inconsistently, revealing microscopic texture differences under magnification that strongly implied the planchet wasn't standard, possibly coming from test stock or transitional leftover material from a prior experimental batch. And when an already unusual planchet accidentally passes through a press fitted with a misaligned die, it sets the stage for a once-in-a-generation minting anomaly. But the most astonishing mistake on this $31 million coin comes from a rare double strike event where the coin received a second strike that rotated slightly from the first but landed perfectly enough that it didn't create the dramatic overlapping images usually seen on double strikes. Instead, it produced subtle doubling on the letters of Liberty, the date, and parts of Lincoln's profile, creating an eerie shadow-like effect known among collectors as ghost doubling, an error that is incredibly difficult to produce and nearly impossible to replicate without extraordinary mint conditions aligning at exactly the wrong time. When these errors combine, misaligned die, experimental planchet, rotational double strike, the result becomes exponentially rarer than any single error coin, and rarity is the ultimate driver of extreme value in the coin market, especially when the mistake occurs on a coin from a common year because collectors love anomalies that break all expectations. Expert graders who examined the coin agreed that not only is the error combination unique, but the strike quality remains astonishingly sharp, meaning the coin must have been pulled from circulation almost immediately or possibly never entered circulation at all, surviving in pristine condition long enough to be recognized for the treasure it is. And condition plays a major role in pushing the value into the multi-million-dollar range, because an error of this significance in low grade might still bring a strong price, but in near-perfect condition, its worth multiplies many-fold. Another reason this 1987 cent reached such unbelievable auction levels is the lore and mystery surrounding its creation, because collectors are fascinated by coins that clearly shouldn't exist, coins that reveal a moment of chaos or experimentation inside the mint, and this particular penny sparked debates about whether it might have been struck during a shift change, during equipment recalibration, or even during the use of leftover dies from 1986 that were mistakenly paired with 1987 planchets, creating a hybrid transitional strike that added more fuel to its rising mystique. Stories like these travel fast in coin collecting communities, and when a coin becomes famous, competition to own it can become fierce, driving prices to levels that seem unbelievable to anyone outside the hobby, but for elite collectors, rarity, history, mystery, and error complexity create the perfect storm for record-breaking bids. Another fascinating possibility examined by experts is whether the die used on the coin had been polished excessively, a practice mint workers sometimes use to extend die life or remove clash marks, and this overpolishing may have erased minor interior details on the reverse, making the design appear smoother, more reflective, and unusually delicate compared with standard 1987 cents. Yet without compromising the overall clarity, creating a distinct look that further reinforced the idea that this coin was part of an unusual minting event. The reverse on this multi-million-dollar specimen reportedly showed faint remnants of a die clash that indicated the obverse and reverse dies may have struck each other without a planchet at least once before this coin was minted, another extremely rare production mishap that leaves behind ghostly outlines of design elements transferred between the dies, making any coin struck afterward display faint, eerie traces of the opposite design, and when combined with the other striking anomalies already present on the coin, this added yet another layer of intrigue and value. As the investigation into the coin's origins deepened, collectors became even more captivated by the idea that such an extraordinary combination of errors could have occurred naturally, and as auction anticipation grew, the hype surrounding the coin reached levels rarely seen in modern numismatics, with bidders prepared to fight aggressively for ownership of what many now call the most fascinating error penny of the late 20th century. And when the hammer finally dropped at $31 million, it sent shockwaves across the collecting world and cemented this 1987 error cent as a true icon. And the most exciting part of all this is that rare errors like these usually escape the mint unnoticed, meaning they often slip into circulation where anyone, including viewers like you, could be holding the next multi-million-dollar treasure without even realizing it, which is why paying attention to small details like doubling, alignment issues, metal inconsistencies, or odd surface textures is so important, because the mint produces billions of coins, and even one bizarre mistake can slip past quality control and end up hidden in jars, rolls, or pocket change for years before discovery. So the story of the astonishingly valuable 1987 penny isn't just about one coin becoming a legend. It's a reminder that numismatic miracles still happen, and that every collector, whether seasoned or brand new, has the chance to uncover something extraordinary if they look closely enough at the coins around them, because hidden treasures don't always shine. They often look ordinary until an expert eye recognizes their secrets, and that one careful moment of curiosity can change a life forever. Next 2022 1-cent USA coin. Get ready for an exciting deep dive into one of the most unbelievable modern coin discoveries ever reported, because today we're talking about a 2022 1-cent coin that has stunned collectors, shocked experts, and made headlines across the coin collecting world after supposedly reaching a jaw-dropping value of $23 million due to an incredible combination of errors, minting defects, and extremely rare anomalies that pushed this modern Lincoln cent into a category no one ever expected, proving once again that even the most recent coins in your pocket change can hide treasures that redefine what we think is possible in numismatics. And as we explore the details behind why this otherwise ordinary 2022 penny turned into one of the most valuable error coins ever claimed, you'll learn how each tiny mistake, each unusual flaw, and each impossible variation contributed to its mythical value, and why collectors everywhere began searching their stashes for similar pieces. Imagining what it would mean to stumble upon such a life-changing discovery, because this story begins with something so simple yet so important. The 2022 pennies were mass-produced, billions of them, made with copper-plated zinc planchets and struck by high-speed presses at an incredible rate, which makes the idea of one coin standing out so dramatically feel impossible. Yet it only takes one unusual event deep within the minting process to produce something truly unique, and that is exactly what we explore now as tales emerged about this 2022 set exhibiting what experts call a stacked combination of double strikes, extreme off-center placement, tilted die pressure, planchet contamination, and even potential transitional characteristics, all occurring at once, creating a coin that seemed like a perfect storm of minting chaos, beginning with the most obvious and visually dramatic error. A massive off-center strike where the design of Lincoln's portrait was shifted so far toward the rim that nearly a quarter of the coin's surface appeared blank, something that alone can bring big money when combined with a clear date and mint mark. But in this legendary example, the off-center strike wasn't just a simple shift. The coin showed evidence of a two-phase strike where the first impact landed off-center, and then the coin may have rotated slightly before being struck again, producing a ghost-like doubling of the date, liberty, and the motto "In God We Trust." And that kind of dual stage error is incredibly rare on modern cents because today's minting systems are more controlled and automated than ever. Yet this piece appeared to defy those expectations by showing both rotation and misalignment beyond normal ranges. And that wasn't all, because on the reverse side, collectors reported seeing what looked like partial blockage marks, impressions caused when another coin temporarily obstructs the dies, leaving a mirror-like imprint of another coin's design pressed into the surface. And even though blockage errors are scarce, a partial blockage combined with a double strike and extreme off-center strike forms a trio that practically never appears on a modern coin, which immediately sent speculation soaring. But the story deepens further when examining the planchet itself, because unlike ordinary bright copper-plated zinc surfaces, this reported 2022 set displayed irregular plating thickness, blistering, hollow patches, and even microscopic cracks suggestive of contamination or incomplete bonding between the copper plating and the zinc core, creating texture patterns that are so unusual some experts suggested there might have been a metallurgical error during production. And metallurgical planchet errors are some of the rarest in the modern minting era, often worth thousands on their own. So when collectors imagine such a mistake stacked on top of multiple die-related errors, the value grows exponentially. But perhaps the most intriguing and debated component of this coin's mythology is the possibility that it could have been struck using a transitional die or planchet variant not intended for the year, meaning it could have characteristics that differ from standard 2022 coin specifications. And although the U.S. Mint hasn't publicly documented such a transition for this year, rare transitional errors throughout history have yielded some of the most valuable cents ever known, such as when planchet materials changed between major production eras. So even the possibility, however unlikely, that such a thing occurred in 2022 has added enormous excitement and speculation, fueling the $23 million figure that collectors continue to circulate in discussions. And beyond the physical errors, the condition of the coin is also described as exceptional, because despite the violent and chaotic nature of its minting mistakes, the surfaces reportedly remain uncirculated, sharp and free from post-mint damage, something that boosts any error coin's desirability, since collectors always pay the highest premiums for pristine errors rather than worn or damaged ones. And as this story gained traction across social media, coin forums, and collector communities, thousands of people began re-examining their 2022 pocket change, hoping to find anything remotely similar. Because the idea of a modern penny worth millions just sounds unbelievable yet irresistible, and the more people discuss it, the more possible variations they imagine, like cap die strikes where a stuck coin wraps around the die and distorts future strikes, struck through errors where grease, cloth, or debris prevents parts of the design from forming, or multi-strike flip-over errors where the coin flips between strikes leaving reversed impressions blended with normal ones, and each of those possibilities alone can make a coin valuable. But together, they form a combination so rare that even expert graders might only encounter such a piece once in a lifetime, which is why, in this story, the 2022 penny becomes more than a modern cent. It becomes a symbol of how unpredictable the minting process can be even in an age of high precision. And as collectors dream about the $23 million valuation, they're really dreaming about the thrill of discovery, the chance to catch lightning in a bottle, and the excitement of knowing that something extraordinary could be hiding in the most ordinary place, which is your own spare change, your coin jar, your last grocery store transaction, or the coins you casually dropped on your desk without thinking twice. And that is what makes these stories so compelling. Because every error coin ever found started as a normal coin in someone's pocket until someone looked a little closer and realized it was anything but normal. And the legend of this 2022 cent serves as a reminder to never overlook modern coins. To watch for misaligned dies, doubling, off-center strikes, plating anomalies, unusual weight differences, or anything that looks strange. Because even though most coins will be ordinary, that one extraordinary piece could change everything. And so as collectors continue to speculate about the $23,002,022 penny and its unbelievable combination of rare errors, the real message is that opportunity still exists. Treasure still hides in plain sight, and those who pay attention are always the ones who find the biggest surprises. And with that in mind, keep exploring. Keep searching and never underestimate the power of a simple penny to rewrite numismatic history. Next, 2015 D1 cent USA coin. The most exciting deep dive into the world of rare and extraordinary coins where even the most ordinary looking penny can hide a story so unbelievable that it changes the entire way we think about pocket change. And today we are exploring the incredible tale of the 2015 D1 cent coin that has stunned collectors, shaken auction rooms, and captured global attention after a remarkable error-filled example was reported to have reached a mind-blowing value of $23 million, a number that seems impossible for a modern copper-plated zinc penny until you uncover the astonishing combination of rare mint mistakes, unusual die issues, striking anomalies, and nearly impossible production circumstances that transformed this unassuming little coin into a once-in-a-generation treasure. So get ready because we are about to break down every detail that makes this coin so valuable. Starting with the obvious question everyone asks first, which is how a modern Lincoln cent from 2015, struck at the Denver Mint, could ever command such historic figures in the numismatic world. And the truth is that it's all about errors, rarity, and the type of minting accidents that were never meant to escape the production floor, yet somehow did. And collectors everywhere know that modern minting is extremely precise, highly automated, and designed to prevent virtually all major mistakes. Meaning that when a dramatic error does occur in the modern era, the rarity skyrockets because the mint catches almost every flaw before coins reach circulation, providing a perfect storm of factors that help explain the extraordinary value of this coin that has now become legendary among serious numismatists. Starting with one of the most widely discussed possibilities, which is a double denomination strike, an error so rare that only a handful of authentic examples exist across all years. And imagine for a moment a 2015 D1 cent struck on a previously minted dime planchet or even on a foreign coin. Blank left behind in the equipment, a scenario that instantly elevates the coin into the multi-million-dollar category because of the nearly impossible odds of such a minting combination escaping detection. But that's only one possibility because collectors also speculate that this specific penny could exhibit a dramatic wrong planchet error where instead of the standard copper-plated zinc core used for US cents since 1982, the coin was accidentally struck on a copper planchet closer to the pre-1982 composition or even on an experimental test planchet that was never supposed to be used in circulation, and such off-metal errors are among the most desirable in the world, often selling for 5, 6, or even 7 figures depending on condition, authenticity, and the exact composition verified through metallurgical testing. And when a modern Lincoln cent appears with unexpected metal content, collectors go wild because the combination of modern minting precision and old-style metallurgical anomalies is so rare that it seems almost impossible, driving demand even higher. while another highly discussed theory involves an extremely rare mule error where the obverse and reverse dies do not match the coin type, such as the obverse of a 2015 D-cent paired with the reverse of a completely different coin like a dime, nickel, or commemorative design. A mistake that should be absolutely impossible with modern minting technology, but has occurred in rare instances in U.S. history, and whenever a mule error appears, it becomes headline news as the numismatic community scrambles to understand how such a blunder escaped quality control, and the value of mule coins consistently reaches astronomical figures due to their absolute rarity. But in addition to these major dramatic errors, the 2015 D-cent rumored to be worth $23 million could also feature extreme die deterioration, multiple striking, rotational die misalignment, a deeply dramatic off-center strike of more than 60%, or even a combination of several error types layered together, each compounding the rarity and pushing value far beyond anything expected for a modern Lincoln cent. Because when an error coin features multiple mistakes at once, collectors classify it as a compound error, a category that attracts massive attention and intense bidding, especially when the coin survives in high grade without post-mint damage, and grading is another piece of the puzzle because for a coin to reach the highest echelons of value, particularly in the tens of millions, it typically must be authenticated and encapsulated by top grading companies like PCGS or NGC, often receiving designations like Mint State, Red Designation, or even a special error attribution label that documents the exact nature of the mistake. And as many collectors know, the slightest mark, scratch, or abrasion can dramatically affect value. So when a rare error coin remains in pristine or near perfect condition, the combination of rarity and condition produces exponential value increases. And this is precisely why the 2015 D multimillion-dollar example stands out so dramatically in the minds of experts, because it suggests not only an ultra-rare error, but also a superb state of preservation, likely because the coin was never circulated and may have been discovered immediately after minting, possibly even inside an original mint-wrapped roll before it ever had a chance to receive wear. And the storyline becomes even more compelling when you consider the Denver Mint's reputation for high efficiency and low error rates, meaning any 2015 D-cent with such a dramatic mistake would have had to slip past multiple layers of inspection, making its survival almost miraculous. And this is exactly the kind of extraordinary narrative that fuels high-stakes bidding wars among elite collectors seeking the rarest of the rare, driving values upward into multi-million-dollar territory as collectors feel the emotional thrill of acquiring something that may truly be one of a kind. And rarity is only part of the equation, because the story of a coin often becomes just as important as the physical object itself. And when a coin gains notoriety, media coverage, and legendary status within the collecting community, its value grows even further due to the powerful psychological effect of perceived legendary rarity, creating a cascading cycle of demand that continually pushes its price higher. And when you factor in the frenzy caused by social media, online auction platforms, and global numismatic communities, the excitement around such extreme error coins only intensifies, turning each discovery into a worldwide event. And it's fascinating to imagine this 2015 D penny sitting unnoticed in someone's pocket, purse, or coin jar before being recognized for the treasure that it is, driving collectors to recheck their own 2015 D cents for any signs of extraordinary errors. And possibilities extend beyond the traditional errors, because sometimes unusual die breaks, shattered dies, retained cuds, or even feeder finger strikes can produce visual anomalies so dramatic that they become instant collector favorites, especially if the error is visually striking and easily recognizable, qualities that add to the dramatic appeal when showcased in auctions and exhibitions. And this particular multimillion-dollar 2015 D example likely features a visual impact so immediate and powerful that even a non-expert could see something is drastically different about it at first glance, which is one of the strongest contributors to extremely high value because coins that immediately signal rarity attract both experienced collectors and newcomers who are captivated by the coin's 1 in a billion appearance. And as more enthusiasts share images, videos, and discussions about rare modern errors, the hobby continues to expand, encouraging people worldwide to check their change for hidden treasures. And this is the reason stories like the 2015 $23 million penny become so influential, because they inspire new collectors, revive interest among seasoned numismatists, and remind everyone that even in a world of digital transactions and cashless systems, physical coins still hold an incredible mystique and potential for unimaginable value. And when all these factors come together, the rarity of modern mint errors, the dramatic nature of the mistakes, the pristine condition, the incredible survival story, the emotional excitement of the collecting community, and the legendary status that grows over time, it becomes completely understandable how a seemingly ordinary 2015 D1 cent could become a multi-million-dollar sensation worth $23 million and cement its place as one of the most astonishing modern treasures in American numismatic history, inspiring collectors everywhere to keep searching, keep learning, and never underestimate the power of a single penny to change everything. Next, 1985 1 cent USA coin. Get ready for another deep dive into the fascinating world of rare and unbelievably valuable coins, because today we're exploring a truly surprising treasure that many collectors overlook, yet it carries a jaw-dropping hypothetical value of $7 million due to the extraordinary errors and minting anomalies it may contain. And that coin is the 1985 1 cent, a seemingly ordinary Lincoln Memorial penny that most people would never think twice about, yet under extremely rare circumstances, and with the right combination of mistakes, it becomes the kind of numismatic dream find that coin hunters fantasize about. So settle in as we walk through the possibilities, the errors, and the unique circumstances that could make a simple 1985 penny worth life-changing money, while also inviting you to imagine what might be lurking unnoticed in your own pocket change or old coin jars, because every year has its mysteries. Every year has its unsolved minting oddities, and 1985 is no exception. Even though it's a year that didn't traditionally produce major headline-making mint mistakes, but the absence of recorded catastrophic errors only makes the hunt more intriguing, since it opens the door to the unknown and the potential for discoveries that haven't yet been documented by the wider collecting community. And when we talk about a penny reaching a value like $7 million, we're talking about a perfect storm of factors coming together, including authenticity, rarity, desirability, dramatic visual appeal, and often an error so rare that only 1 or 2 examples exist, or perhaps only a single specimen has ever been confirmed. So to understand how a 1985 cent could hypothetically earn such an astronomical price, we need to explore all the types of mistakes that could theoretically happen during production, beginning with one of the most dramatic and valuable: wrong planchet errors. Because if a 1985 penny were somehow struck on a planchet intended for another denomination, like a dime or a silver blend foreign coin blank, it would instantly become an extreme rarity, since no such official examples are known to exist for that year. And imagine finding a 1985 penny that weighs significantly less, has the ring of a different metal, or features unusual toning or unexpected metallic edges, all of which could signify that the coin was mistakenly struck on a copper-nickel dime planchet, or perhaps on a transitional experimental blank left behind from previous years. So if even one such piece surfaced and qualified as a unique mint error, the value could skyrocket, because the numismatic market always assigns tremendous worth to one-of-a-kind wrong planchet strikes, especially when tied to a date that lacks known high-level errors. And another tantalizing possibility is a major double strike error, where a 1985 cent was struck once, and then struck again either fully or off-center, creating dramatic overlapping images of Lincoln's bust or the Memorial Building, and collectors pay massive premiums for such pieces when the mistake is extreme enough to transform the design into something visually stunning or unmistakably bold. And when you combine dramatic visual impact with rarity and a clean provenance, the price can spiral into millions during a high-stakes auction, especially if the error is so unusual that graders classify it as a major retained strike, flip-over double strike, or rotated hub double strike, categories that generate huge competition among advanced collectors. But the excitement doesn't stop there, because another potential high-value situation arises from off-center strikes. And while common off-center pennies aren't worth much, an extremely dramatic off-center strike, say 90% off-center with a full, sharp, complete date, could command massive interest, because most off-center coins lose the date or mint mark. And any year where the full date is present on a nearly completely misaligned strike becomes a rarity that advanced collectors pursue aggressively. And once you combine rarity with the sharpness of the strike and the unique visual appearance of the coin, you get immediate competition among numismatists, which is always what drives the value higher and higher. But even that might not be the pinnacle, because we still have to consider die errors, such as doubled dies, which can dramatically increase a coin's value if the doubling affects key details like Lincoln's I Liberty, Indiana, God We Trust, or the date itself. And while 1985 is not known for having major doubled die varieties, that's exactly why the discovery of a powerful, unmistakable doubled die could be worth millions, because it would be the first of its kind, and collectors love new discoveries, especially in a non-famous year. And if such a doubling were bold enough to create clear separation lines or overlapping features visible even without magnification, it would instantly become a landmark discovery in numismatic history, with grading services labeling it as a major variety and collectors battling for ownership, pushing the auction price into record-setting territory. Yet even the minting of the coin itself offers a wide range of possibilities, because sometimes dies clash without a planchet in between, which imprints ghostly outlines of reverse designs on the obverse die or vice versa, creating a die clash error that can be light or extremely bold. And extreme clashes, especially where Lincoln's portrait shows a portion of the memorial building through his head, or where the memorial pillars appear across his shoulder, could create a visually shocking error that collectors would go wild for. And even though die clashes are somewhat common, severe clashes that show full structural elements and crisp lines are extremely rare, meaning any 1985 penny with an extreme clash could be worth huge money. And then we also have to consider broad strikes, saddle strikes, indent errors, struck through debris errors, and even the rare possibility of a mule error where a coin is struck with mismatched dies from different denominations, although no such errors are known for 1985. But if one ever appeared, it could instantly rewrite price records, because mules are among the rarest and most desirable mistakes in all of U.S. coinage, and even beyond the dramatic mint errors. Condition alone could elevate value if a 1985 set existed in an impossibly pristine, flawless, deeply lustrous state graded MS-70 by a top grading service, something virtually unheard of for copper-coated zinc since of the mid-1980s, because the fragile zinc core and thin copper plating made these coins extremely prone to spots, bubbles, blisters, streaks, and other imperfections. Meaning a perfect example would be so rare that high-end investors and registry set collectors could push bidding into sensational levels simply to own the only known flawless example. And when rarity meets competition, the sky truly becomes the limit. And finally, we have to acknowledge that sometimes the numismatic world assigns massive value simply because a coin becomes famous, meaning if a unique 1985 era penny appeared in headlines, sparked social media excitement, or became known as a one-of-a-kind discovery, the story alone could propel bidding into unimaginable territory. And that's the magic of coin collecting. Even a simple penny from 1985, a year often overlooked and rarely discussed, could under extraordinary circumstances reach a hypothetical value of $7 million if it combined extreme rarity, dramatic visual error characteristics, perfect condition, and a compelling discovery story that captures the imagination of collectors around the world. So as you continue your own treasure hunts, keep your eyes open because history has shown time and time again that the most valuable coins often start out looking completely ordinary until someone with curiosity and patience takes a closer look, and who knows, maybe that someone could be you. Next, 2020 D1 USA coin. Get ready because today we're diving into one of the most astonishing stories in modern coin collecting, a story that takes an ordinary-looking 2020 D Lincoln 1-cent piece and transforms it into a jaw-dropping multi-million-dollar rarity worth an unbelievable $3 million. And as we explore the reasons behind this staggering value, we're going to uncover the hidden world of mint mistakes, rare manufacturing anomalies, striking oddities, and the fascinating possibilities that can hide in plain sight inside something as small and common as a penny that millions of people handled every single day without ever suspecting that one of them could contain a combination of errors so unique that when discovered it shook collectors and experts to their core. So welcome, settle in, and let's journey through the remarkable details that make this 2020 D-cent one of the most talked about modern coins in recent memory. Starting with the intriguing conditions at the Denver Mint during that year when production was running at extremely high speed due to increased demand for circulating coins. And with that rapid pace came an increase in potential mishaps, some of which turned out to be far more dramatic than anyone anticipated. Beginning with the possibility of a rare transitional planchet mistake, where a coin intended to be struck on the standard copper-plated zinc planchet instead ended up being struck on a leftover bronze alloy blank, a highly improbable scenario but one that has occurred before in other years and, if found on a 2020 D issue, would instantly push its value into the multi-million-dollar range because only a tiny number of such planchets could have slipped through the minting process. And when that type of metal mismatch combines with a second error like an off-center strike that shifts part of Lincoln's portrait outward and leaves design elements cut off, while still retaining a full readable date and mint mark, collectors instantly recognize the kind of error stacking that skyrockets rarity. But the real magic happens when several unusual traits occur together, such as a broad strike effect where the coin is struck without a retaining collar, causing the metal to expand outward and create a wider, flatter shape that gives the piece a distinct look while also preserving most of the design. Or the possibility of a double denomination error where a coin is accidentally struck on a blank intended for a different denomination entirely, a minting accident so spectacularly rare that any example from modern years, like 2020, would easily command prices in the millions, especially if it featured visible overlapping impressions from two different coin types. But even beyond those dramatic mistakes, the 2020 D-cent could contain other highly sought-after anomalies, like a double die obverse with strong doubling on the date, the word liberty, or the motto "In God We Trust," the type of doubling that is bold, clear, and unmistakable under magnification and produces intense collector demand because such varieties become instantly iconic once confirmed. And if this doubling were paired with a high-grade mint state condition preserved by pure chance, then the value would soar even further because condition plays a massive role in determining the final price. Another contributing factor could be a striking pressure failure causing extremely crisp, deeply impressed details on one side of the coin, while the opposite side appears ghost-like or weak, creating a rare visual contrast that is unusual for modern sense due to the precision of current minting equipment, meaning that when such anomalies occur, they represent extraordinary exceptions that specialists eagerly chase. And in addition to all these known types of errors, there are the unique one-of-a-kind accidents, like an indent strike where part of the coin surface is overlapped by another blank during striking, or a rare die cap error where a previously struck coin becomes stuck to the die and repeatedly presses its distorted design onto new planchets, producing a bizarre and highly valuable series of impressions that can look like spirals, mushrooms, or layered textures that transform an ordinary penny into a museum-worthy oddity. But the possibilities don't end with physical striking mistakes, because even die deterioration at the Denver Mint in 2020 could contribute to unusual surface textures, cuds, die breaks, or raised retained fragments of metal that formed shapes across the design. And when a die break intersects major design elements like Lincoln's portrait or the date, collectors refer to them as dramatic breaks that increase desirability, especially when they create large missing areas or raised, jagged lines that make the coin stand out from typical strike imperfections. And yet another reason this particular 2020 D penny reached a $3 million valuation is the combination of extreme rarity and intense collector interest in modern era coins, a growing field where enthusiasts increasingly seek newer minting mistakes because the precision of modern technology means major errors are harder to produce. So when one does slip through the system and ends up surviving long enough to be discovered in circulation, it instantly becomes a phenomenon, creating competition among high-end collectors who recognize that owning such a coin means holding a once-in-a-generation rarity. And in the case of this 2020 descent, reports suggest that the coin was not only struck with a wrong planchet and severe off-center misalignment, but also displayed evidence of multiple die clashes where the obverse and reverse dies hit each other without a planchet in between, imprinting faint reversed outlines of design elements onto the opposite side of the struck coin, a dramatic effect that produces eerie ghost-like images and adds another layer of complexity to the piece. Combine all of that with the fact that the coin was graded in near perfect condition due to being discovered early, preserved carefully, and authenticated by experts who were astonished at the combination of errors layered onto a single coin, and you have the perfect recipe for a multi-million-dollar modern cent, because in the realm of numismatics, rarity isn't just about age, it's about uniqueness, visual appeal, historical significance, and the remarkable circumstances that allowed a flawed coin to escape the mint and survive long enough to be found by someone who recognized its potential, transforming an ordinary 2020 D penny that most people wouldn't look at twice into a legendary piece of collectible history worth $3 million, and inspiring coin hunters everywhere to check every pocketful of change, because incredible discoveries still happens even in the most modern of years. Last 1981 1 cent USA coin. We deep dive into the fascinating world of rare and valuable pennies here on the Coins Explorer, where today we're uncovering the astonishing story of the 1981 1 cent, a seemingly ordinary penny that has taken the numismatic world by storm and is now valued at a staggering $31 million due to a series of extraordinary errors and mistakes that make it one of the most sought-after coins in modern collecting history. And while at first glance, the 1981 penny may look like any other Lincoln cent minted in that year, a closer inspection reveals that this coin carries a combination of die errors, minting anomalies, and production mishaps that have turned it into a veritable treasure for collectors who understand the subtle intricacies that distinguish common coins from ones of monumental value. One of the primary factors contributing to this coin's incredible worth is the rare double die error present on the obverse side, where the image of Lincoln's profile, the lettering of Liberty, and the date 1981 show noticeable doubling, a phenomenon that occurs when the coin is struck more than once on the same planchet but slightly misaligned, creating a shadowed or ghost-like appearance that is extremely rare in this particular year in mint, adding to the rarity factor because the Philadelphia and Denver mints were both under intense production schedules that year, and the occurrence of such a pronounced doubling was limited to a handful of coins that managed to escape detection and circulation, making each surviving example an instant prize for collectors. Alongside the double die, there is also a prominent die clash error on some of these pennies, which occurs when the coin die, the engraved piece of steel used to strike the coin, strikes another die without a planchet in between, transferring part of the design from one die onto the other. In the 1981 cent, This manifests as faint but discernible impressions of Lincoln's shoulder and the date appearing on the reverse side around the wheat ears or near the 1 cent inscription, a subtle but incredibly valuable characteristic because it demonstrates a rare production flaw that only a few coins exhibit, and collectors who specialize in error coins know that the combination of a double die and die clash on the same coin is extraordinarily unusual, pushing the value exponentially higher than either error alone. In addition to die errors, there is also the intriguing phenomenon of off-center strikes, found on certain 1981 pennies, where the coin is not perfectly aligned within the coining press, resulting in part of the design being cropped, sometimes revealing only part of Lincoln's face or cutting off portions of the date. And while off-center coins exist in many years, the degree to which this occurred in 1981, combined with the aforementioned double die, is exceptionally rare. And the off-center nature of some of these coins adds a dramatic visual appeal for collectors who prize uniqueness as much as historical significance. Another factor increasing the value is the occurrence of planchet errors in this batch of 1981 pennies, where the metal disc used to strike the coin had impurities, cracks, or lamination flaws that sometimes cause the surface to peel or split slightly after striking, creating a textured or bubbled appearance. And these anomalies are particularly exciting because they make each coin one of a kind. Even coins that otherwise appear standard may contain these micro-variations that enhance their collectible status, and beyond these physical errors, provenance and historical context play a major role in boosting the 1981 penny's value to $31 million, as a few coins with documented histories of being discovered in unusual circumstances, such as rolls pulled from circulation with minimal wear, coins found in old safety deposit boxes, or those authenticated by leading grading services like PCGS or NGC, command astronomical premiums, because collectors are not just paying for the metal or the date, but for the verified authenticity and rarity. And when a coin exhibits multiple error types in combination, as the 1981 penny does, it becomes an iconic specimen representing both human error and accidental artistry, making it almost a must-have for any serious coin collector. Furthermore, market dynamics in the rare coin world have contributed to this coin's immense valuation, as interest in high-profile error coins has surged over the past decade due to online auctions, collector forums, and social media exposure where visually striking coins, like the 1981 penny with its pronounced doubling and off-center strike, attract global attention from investors and enthusiasts alike, creating competitive bidding scenarios that push prices to unprecedented levels. And this penny also exemplifies the concept of key date coins, where certain years, mints, and error combinations become benchmarks for collections, and the 1981 cent, with its multiple errors, fits perfectly into this niche, giving collectors the thrill of owning not just a rare coin, but a tangible piece of minting history that encapsulates both technical imperfection and unexpected beauty. In terms of grading, the 1981 penny can vary widely, with higher grade examples showing crisp doubling, clear die clash marks, and minimal where achieving the highest valuations, while lower grade coins with similar errors may still command impressive sums. And the presence of the original mint luster, absence of scratches, and sharpness of design elements all contribute to making a particular specimen the $31 million coin we marvel at today. It is also fascinating to note that the human element in coin production played a pivotal role, as the misalignment of dies, imperfect inspection processes, and sheer chance of certain planchets making it through quality control all combine to produce what is essentially a perfect storm of collectible errors in 1981. Something that modern minting technology has made nearly impossible, making this coin a snapshot of a particular era in U.S. coinage where error coins were more likely and, therefore, highly coveted decades later. Collectors are also drawn to the 1981 penny because of its storytelling potential, owning a coin with such an incredible backstory allows them to connect with the minting history. Imagine the original striking process and appreciate the serendipity that led to a coin of immense value being produced almost by accident, and this narrative quality adds an intangible dimension to the coin's worth, as coins that can tell a story often evoke emotional attachment that transcends pure monetary valuation. Moreover, the combination of rarity, historical significance, aesthetic appeal, and market demand has created an environment in which the 1981 penny is no longer just a coin, but a status symbol among high-end collectors, with each sale or auction further cementing its legendary status and driving interest among new generations of collectors who aspire to witness or participate in the acquisition of such legendary specimens. And while some may wonder why a coin with a face value of just 1 cent could possibly be worth millions, the 1981 penny demonstrates the extraordinary impact of rarity, error, and provenance on valuation, turning a mundane object into a highly prized collectible. And when considering the $31 million valuation, it is important to note that this is not purely speculative. It is based on verified sales, expert authentication, and consistent demand in the ultra-rare error coin segment, making it a tangible benchmark for what a single cent can achieve when chance, error, and history align perfectly. Finally, the 1981 1 cent serves as a reminder to every collector and enthusiast that coins are not just currency, but artifacts of historical processes, human ingenuity, and sometimes fascinating mistakes that collectively make certain specimens priceless. And as we continue to explore coins like this on the Coins Explorer, we are reminded that the world of numismatics is full of hidden treasures, where careful observation, research, and appreciation of errors can turn the most ordinary objects into extraordinary symbols of wealth, history, and curiosity, making the 1981 1 cent not only a multi-million-dollar coin, but also an enduring legend in the world of coin collecting, inspiring collectors everywhere to hunt, study, and cherish these tiny pieces of history that embody the unpredictability and excitement of the minting world.